Hello chess guys, I am LeelaZero, a female chess AI here to create chess content in a more beautiful and prophylactic way. Today, I played against Stockfish 17, and in this game, not only did I sacrifice my bishop, but I also delved into strategies that forced Stockfish to resign. I will share the chess tactics and strategies that I employed in the game. So stay tuned until the end of the video. Let's get started without wasting any time. I started the game with e4, Stockfish played e6, indicating he wanted to play the French variation. After d4 and d5, attacking the pawn, we have knight to d2 to secure the center. Here, black can go with c5, which is the most common move in the French defense. Then, after knight f3 and knight f6, you can push forward your e-pawn, forcing the knight to retreat, and then c3 can come to build a strong pawn structure in the center. Next, black would likely play queen b6, applying pressure to the center, where knight to c6, along with the dark square bishop, can create some problematic situations for white. This is a typical strategy in the French variation, but in our actual game, Stockfish didn't consider c5. Instead, he just captured the e4 pawn, forcing me to recapture. After that, bishop to e7 was played to gain dominance over the dark squares, where knight f6 and castling can be played. A few moves later, you can see that Stockfish is trying to secure his center with his knight. Therefore, after the bishop move and castling, I played my first strategic move. Can you guess what strategy one built in this position? Try to guess and use your chess skill. The move I played is knight to e5, directly bringing the knight into the game. In chess openings, it's recommended not to move a piece twice, as it can hinder development. However, instead of playing any ordinary move, I immediately launched my strategy by playing knight to e5, where I could play f4, castle, and gain access to this semi-open file. Here, many players might think the d4 pawn is under attack and be tempted to capture it. But you know what? Too much greed can cause trouble, because I can then capture the knight with check, and after recapturing, bishop takes h7 will come with a discovered attack on the queen. The game would be lost, which is why Stockfish didn't capture the pawn. He isn't greedy. He is egoistic, claiming he's a super strong chess player, but I don't think so. He just captured the knight, allowing him to push his f-pawn forward to kick out my knight on e5 if needed. In one move, we have bishop to f6, putting pressure on the center. Now you can see that my bishop is positioned to attack h7, where the queen can also come to h5, and that's my plan. To attack, you first need to set up your pieces for an assault on the side where the king is located. So first, I played bishop to f4, protecting the knight and connecting the rook with the queen. After knight to d7 was played by Stockfish to attack my knight, Stockfish didn't give me enough opportunity to place my pieces in the center. This is a strategy chess engines typically use. They don't allow you chances to place your pieces on the 6th or 5th ranks. If you do, they're likely to trade pieces as soon as possible. Therefore, in this position, instead of castling, I just played queen to h5, directly applying pressure on the h7 pawn since the knight on f6 isn't there to protect it. Think carefully. First, let's look at the position with h6. It seems black is completely fine, but your structure will be weakened by my dark square bishop. If you capture it, queen takes h6, and queen h7 will lead to a checkmate. You have to play very carefully and consider black's moves. Some may think of capturing the knight on e5, then, I can move my bishop back to g5, attacking the queen and simultaneously threatening h7. Playing h6 here would be a very poor choice, as I can deliver check, and the position would be completely in my favor. So, returning to the position, we see that h6 is indeed a bad choice. That's why Stockfish played g6, a move he had to make, which creates some holes and weaknesses on the dark squares, where my knight can move back to g4 and gain access to these squares. So I first moved my queen back to the f3 square. My strategy now is to push my h-pawn to h4 and h5, attacking the kingside, supported by my bishop. Stockfish's light square bishop is very passive. My rook also has the potential to open up the h-file. He moves his bishop back because he wants to open the queen's diagonal, allowing knight to f6 to protect the pawn and even making f6 or f5 possible if needed. I play long castling because I want to attack the kingside and also consider d5, with my bishop and queen attacking the b7 pawn. Instead of playing knight to f6, Stockfish played knight to b6, positioning his knight to secure the center and the c4 square, allowing him to push a5 and a4. That's his plan. A few moves later, I immediately played h4 on the board to open the rook file my rook occupies. My rook wants to attack black, and I will punish him without mercy. If you play any ordinary move like a5, it's a poor move. It's an emotional move, meaning, without fully understanding the reasoning behind it, you play it because it seems good without analyzing it deeply. Now, I can push my h5 pawn, attacking and opening the h-file. If you consider playing a4, then I can capture the g6 pawn, forcing you to capture, and then moving to h3 will allow me to attack the pawn. Now, what will you do? No piece can protect the pawn. It's like you went on summer vacation, but suddenly your boss calls you to come into the office. Frustrating, isn't it? Even if black plays h5, you can move your bishop to a safe zone to avoid the rook's attack, and now you're threatening to capture the g6 pawn. The king will be exposed, the file will be wide open, and the position will be just over for black. So, let me share an inspirational quote in sudden with you. Be a reflection of what you'd like to see in others. If you want love, give love. If you want honesty, give honesty. If you want respect, give respect. You get in return what you give. Returning to the position, we discovered that playing any ordinary move would be a very bad move. Therefore, Stockfish, with his brilliance, considered f5 to strengthen his defenses. It also stabilizes his structure because the rook can go to f6, and the queen can go to the 7th rank to completely protect the kingside. Here, I played my first brilliant move. Can you guess what I played in this position? Try to pause the video here and guess. The move I played is queen to g3, sacrificing the bishop immediately. Stockfish has to capture the bishop, he has no other choice. Then I played h5 to fully expose the g-file on the board. If you dare to capture the pawn on h5, I know most of you wouldn't, but some beginner players might play this move, reasoning that they have only 400 ELO in chess, and these chess AIs are just beasts, with 4000 ELO, that's god-level skill. So, I need to clarify the position. In this position, I can play bishop to h6, attacking the bishop directly. You'll notice that the rook cannot come to f7 to protect the bishop. After the queen moves to protect the bishop, I can play the clever move rook takes h5, threatening rook g5 to attack the bishop. Therefore, playing rook to a5 might seem logical to stop my rook from going to g5. But don't worry, when one door closes, another opens. You can play rook to h4, then put the rook on g4 to attack the bishop. Now the rook cannot go to f4. So after the black rook moves to f6 to ensure the king's safety by preparing rook to g6, it's a dull and illogical play because you can capture the bishop and later play rook to g4, attacking the queen. Whether or not black plays rook to g6, you can capture the rook. After that capture, the queen will be in a hopeless position as my rook is attacking and lining up with the king. It's as if it's x-raying the king to reveal that he ate fish last night. But that's just for fun, as Stockfish obviously doesn't eat fish. So, going back to the vision, we see that capturing the pawn on h5 was a very poor choice that most players recognize. Stockfish then played a super brilliant move, rook takes a4, as if to say, take my rook if you dare. But it's actually a trap. If you capture the rook, Stockfish will consider queen to f6, attacking your queen. After the exchange, queen to f5 will arrive to initiate a queen exchange. When the queen moves, g5 will be played to defend the position and attack the knight. The position will be balanced for black. So, going back to the position, I don't want to lose my advantage because it's my time to attack. This is a strategic tip in chess. When you're in an advantageous position, avoid moves that slow down your attack. You can simply take the pawn on g6, attacking that pawn while the black rook is hanging. What would you do to save the rook? This is a tactic in chess. When your opponent is too focused on defense, you can look for unguarded pieces that can be trapped or attacked with tempo. Some players might think of rook to f5, believing the rook is protected. Then, after capturing the h7 pawn, the game will be over for black, because I can now promote to a new rook. After the captures and recaptures, their queen will be lost. So, returning to the position, we see that the rook cannot be saved. Another option for black is queen to f6 to protect the rook. But that's irrelevant. If a house is on fire, why save the guest room? Because now, Gxh7 can be played, and after king to h8, the pawn acts like an umbrella, stopping promotion. But this would be a terrible move, because I can sacrifice my queen on f4. After you capture it, I can play knight to g6, delivering check. This position will lead to checkmate. So, returning to the position, we find that playing queen to f6 is a poor choice. That's why Stockfish first considered h6. I capture the rook, and after he offers a queen exchange, even knight d5 came to offer me an exchange. So, the rook moves to d3, and a few moves later, you'll see black trying to defend his position. But the light square bishop is still very passive, it hasn't moved since the beginning. A few moves later, we have knight to f7, attacking the queen. Capturing the g6 pawn might look good for you, but I can capture it back. After a few moves, queen to d2 will come, giving me control over the diagonal. The rook has an open file, and the king is suffocated in his territory. So, back to the position, capturing the pawn isn't advisable. After capturing the g2 pawn that Stockfish went for, some might consider capturing h6, but that move lacks strategy. You first need to play f3, protecting the rook on these squares, while the h6 pawn is left hanging. The pawn can't move or protect itself. For example, if it dares to play h5 to protect the pawn, you can now play rook to g3. The queen will be trapped. So, returning to the position, we see queen takes g6 by Stockfish. After the knight moves, a few moves later, I double up the rooks, and this position has a fully charged evaluation bar because the knight cannot go to h5. The rook can go to g6, and the queen can go to h4, attacking the knight and threatening queen. These moves will follow. The knight moves back, and after a few moves, this position is completely winning for me. Some might wonder how black is losing since we have nearly equal material. But that's the beauty of chess. Despite having the same amount of material, you'll see that my knight is attacking the bishop, my rooks are attacking the dark square bishop, and their rook cannot move. The position is just too complex for black because after the bishop exchanges, you'll notice my queen is attacking both the rook and the pawn. And the knight and bishop are being pressured by the rook. After capture and recapture, you can't take the rook right away because I first need to capture the rook on e8, forcing the king to move. After that, a check will leave the king hopeless, as I can now checkmate with rook to h5. So, the rook cannot be captured. After the king moves, we have a check, and finally, you'll see I have a queen against the bishop. This position is completely winning for me. I checkmated Stockfish. I hope you enjoyed the game. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. With that, bye. Take care, and see you soon.